All right, so you were asked to do 3 division problems after you finish today's warm-up. We're going to go over these 3 problems. I'm going to show you a strategy that probably with 1-digit divisors, you're like, I don't need to do that. But it's something that will help when we get to 2-digit divisors later this week. Oh my goodness, 2-digit divisors, that's cray-cray. I know, but we're going to do it anyway. And you can't stop us. All right, so the parts of a division problem, the part on the outside is the divisor. Dividend on the inside, quotient's the answer. And you know what the remainder is. So you need to know those terms, which is why I wrote them down. I'm making videos every time we go over these. I'll put them on the Classroom of Google, so you'll have access to them. So when you say, I don't get it, I'll be able to say, hey, have you watched the video in the Classroom of Google? And you'll say, no. And I'll say, well, then watch it. So the first one I gave you was 831 divided by 8. Which I'm sure for most of you is pretty easy. Because dividing by a 1-digit divisor is really pretty easy. But the process I want you to use, or to know how to use, and you'll have to use it if you ever want any help from me about it, is the first thing you're going to do is you're going to list the multiples of your divisor. So our divisor is 8. So the first thing I would do is I'd list all the multiples. 8 times 1 is 8. Times 2 is 16. Times 3 is 24. Times 4 is 32. Times 5 is 40. Times 6 is 48. Times 7 is 56. Times 8 is 64. Times 9 is 72. So that's the first thing I'm going to have you do. Because once you do that, then all your multiplying is done. Then all you have to know how to do is subtract once you've done that part. Once you've listed your first 9 multiples, then all your multiplying, or all you're left with to do is subtract. So even if your divisor was 37, if I go through here and I list those multiples all the way up through 9, then all I have to do is to be able to subtract. And I asked Judge Judy, and she said you all knew how to subtract. I'm just saying what she told me. So now we look at step by step. We're going to go through this. Does 8 go into 8? Yes. That means I'm going to have a number above the 8, a number above the 3, and a number above the 1. That tells me my quotient is going to be a 3-digit whole number. Now there may be a remainder, but it's going to be a 3-digit whole number. So when you did this problem, if you didn't get a 3-digit whole number for your quotient, then you've done something wrong. Now the reason I put these multiples here, I need to figure out how many times 8 goes into 8. So if I look at my multiples, and I want to get as close to 8 as I can get without going over, and as close to 8 as I can get without going over is 8. Since 8 times 1 is 8, then I have my 1 up here in my quotient. It's in my hundreds place. And I go 1 times 8 is 8. Subtract. Now I bring down the 3. If, this is where I see a problem for a lot of people. If you don't put these little lines and recognize that your answer has to have 3 digits, that's where I see mistakes. People will go, well, 8 doesn't go into 3, so I'll just bring down the 1. You can't do that. 8 goes into 3 0 times. Now you bring down the 1. There has to be a number above the 3. Because if you just put, let's see, now I want to get to 31 without going over. So what's as close as I can get to 31 without going over?
8 times 3.
8 times 3, which is 24. So I put my 3 here. And I subtract and I get 7, which will be my remainder. But if you didn't think to put that 0 there, you would get 13. If you were like, oh, it doesn't go into 3, I'll just bring the 1 down, you're gonna get 13, and that's gonna be wrong. Well, how could I check and see if my answer was right? Well, we can multiply 103 times 8, so your quotient times your divisor, and then add our remainder, which is 7, and that should equal 831. If we did everything correctly, that should equal 831. And we're not practicing that today, so I'm not going to go over it. But I just want you to know that that is the process for how I could check it. When I give you questions and you say, I need help with number 1, and I don't see this, I don't see you listed in the multiples, I'm not helping. That means you don't need help, you just want me to tell you the answer. No, not going to do it if you're not going to follow the steps. Now, if you think, hey, I don't need to follow the steps and you can do it and get it right, I'm fine. But if you ask me for help, I've got to see that. If you do it a different way, that's fine. This is the way I'm just going to show, because it helps when we get to 2-digit divisors. Next one we add is 416 divided by 6. 416 divided by 6. I list my multiples of 6. Times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 8 is what?
48.
48. 6 times 8 is 48. And 6 times 9 is?
54.
Okay, so I listed my multiples through 9 of 8. Now, on a 1-digit number, you're going to have those on a multiplication chart. So that makes it easy. Once we get to 2-digit divisors, you're actually going to have to do the work. I know, right? So now I ask, does 6 go into 4? No. I am not going to have a number above that 4. Does 6 go into 41? Yes. Which means my quotient is going to have 2 digits. A digit in the tens place and a digit in the ones place. If your paper right now where you did these problems, your quotient doesn't have 2 digits, then we've made a mistake somewhere. And that's fine. This is the first day we're working on it. Most of you all turned your division part of your brain off a long time ago. So we gotta Wonder Twin powers activate that division power part of your brain. So now we said 6 is going into 41. I need to get as close to 41 as I can get without going over. 6 times 6, which is 36. So 6 times 6, which is 36. Then I subtract and I get 5. Then I bring down this 6. Now I need to get as close to 56 as I can get without going over. 6 times 9, because it's 54. So I got 69, nice. Remainder 2. If I wanted to check my answer, I would do 69 times 6 plus 2 and see if it equals 416. Listing the multiples is going to help you. I promise. And last, but certainly not least, I have 532 divided by 4. So if I multiply times 1 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 is 12, times 4 is 16, times 5 is 20, times 6 is 24, times 7 is 28, times 8 is 32, times 9 is 36. Anybody have any idea why I can stop at 9? Any thoughts on why I stop at 9?
Because 9 is under 10, and it's supposed to be the last number of the 1 digits.
1 digits. That's exactly what it is. I'm only putting 1 digit at a time in my quotients. I don't need to know what 4 times 57 is to see if that's right. I don't need to know that. I'm only putting 1 digit in here at a time, which makes this a lot easier. So if you can multiply by a 1-digit number, then division is easy. If you can multiply by a 1-digit number, division's easy. But before, when I saw you write down division, there were several of you who were like, I can't do division. I suck at division. Division's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of you said that, but y'all can multiply by 1-digit numbers. If I gave you 573 times 9, y'all could do that.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing is multiplying by a 1-digit number. So is 5 going to be able to go into 4? Yes.
Yes. 1 time.
Which means I have a 3-digit quotient.
You mean 4 goes into 5?
Yeah, 4 going to 5. Now I got to figure out how many times. I look at my multiples.
1.
Goes in 1 time, because 1 times 4 is 4. Then I subtract. Now I need to take 4 into 13. As close as I can get to 13 without going over is
4 times 3.
12. So it's 4 times 3. Bring that down. And 4 goes into 12 how many times? 3 times. And that's exactly 12. So I have no remainder. So my answer is 133. Sophia, what is 133 times 4?
That is 532.
532. Very good. So on this assignment that I give you, when you work on it, if you say, hey, Mr. McMurdo, I need help on this one, I have to see the multiples, or I'm going to say, I'm not helping you. You big goofball, you need to show me the work that I required. Can't help you. Who do you think you are asking me for help when you don't even have the work to get help from? Boom! Shakalaka, peace out, God bless, love you, do something kind today, save the bees. Subscribe to Keller GBB.